Yeah, I don't know. They're saying I have a 4 minute delay, but um, I definitely don't because I like minimize and I see the messages that come up.
I also see the time on your bottom right hand computer thing, and it says the time that it says on my computer. So on stream.
Also, I'm not sure why it's a problem, Son Kiyoshi. You're gonna be playing the game. I don't think you have time to watch the stream. So,
All
is there
right.
anything you definitely expect to get banned away?
No, I think these two teams are mostly open. I think if this was a few patches back, we would talk about Tria's Gragas, but he's pretty weak right now, so he might make it through. Although I know he did play that in one of their first games. On the side of IRLS, um, we have players with okay, that Singe ban is definitely a target ban at Kyoshi. Um, that's one of his better champions. We might expect a Cho'Gath ban too if they're going to target Kyoshi.
People were requesting some music, so I put on some really calming tunes for you guys to put us to sleep through Champ Select. Who's casting right now? It's Puff Nasty and Blake. I'm Puff Nasty, and he's
I'm
Blake.
Blake.
Yeah,
The
so they
Shen ban
did.
that you were speaking about.
Yeah, it's something they talked about when they were doing like the breakdowns of the teams. They thought that they could like make him a little uncomfortable. He's viewed as like the weaker link on this team, I think, and to try and like put him out of his comfort zone, I think that's a smart move.
Pretty quick picks here. It looks like IRLS was ready for the Jarvan pick, but maybe they didn't anticipate this Zyra Rakan combo.
Tarek is pretty good in lane. It like shutting down the engages from the Rakan, and I know that's something that Nahor plays like a ton. Like even when it wasn't really like top tier, I know that it was like something he was messing around with when he was playing with you guys.
Yeah, Nohura has traditionally been very good on that champion. Excited about that.
Shout out to Jenka because he asked me to. Second best mid laner.
Damn, behind which one of these guys?
I was thinking behind Prosit. Prosit, number one mid laner.
Oh man, Prasa, I forgot about him. Clearly the best.
The Narban is interesting. So I guess that means they think that the Jarvan is definitely going in the jungle. They don't expect it to go top.
Yeah, and that's one of his big picks, one of his most played. I would say his next biggest pick is Cho'Gath, so we'll see if they choose that one too. TF.
Charlie played Twisted Fate in the last games, and it really allows him to have like big playmaking potential with like the new like speed boosting and everything. He just zooms around the map.
Yeah, he took that last thing, and I was interested to see if he would take it again in maybe a harder lane matchup against the Mighty Mead, because you do lose a lot of laning power not having a lane-oriented keystone.
Yeah, also, I'm not sure if he even would have picked Twisted Fate against somebody who like he expects to be pressured by. Although they haven't banned a single mid lane champion really, so pretty confident.
And they're going to give him the counter pick. The Ornn pickup, I know Ornn has been ravaging my solo queue games. See what he does here.
Yeah, I think Gnar gives Ornn really bad problems. That's probably why they took that out. I think Kennen would be a really good pick to go up against Ornn, actually.
All right. I don't know anything about this top lane matchup. These are our two champions that are relatively new that I have not played, so.
Well, Urgot is insane. We saw that in like I forget who it was that was playing, but the Urgot was just carrying. It was the Glup match, and the other team had an Urgot who was just like 1v5ing. Like all 5 members were trying to fight Urgot, and it was not working.
And this Malzahar pick is going to look to shut down a lot of the Jarvan's engage. We'll have to see if IRLS will be able to synergize the Jarvan and the Taric so that nobody gets blown up on the counter engage by Malzahar. Based on these team comps, it doesn't look like Malzahar is going to be able to get onto a carry, pretty long range carries in Tristana and Azir. So Taric is mostly going to be looking to try and keep Jarvan and Urgot alive in the beginning of team fights.
So are we getting trolled, or is... Yeah, okay. For a second there, I thought the Urgot was going to stay in the jungle. I thought we were like Korean rules. They can't swap after 30 seconds. I think Yeet has like a much more, I guess like traditional comp, something you expect to see in like competitive play. And then IRLS kind of has something that's going to rely on like snowballing a little bit around that top side, because I think if the Urgot falls behind, they're gonna have like really big problems with their map control.
Agreed. I think a big part of this will be that bot lane turret, the bot lane outer, and who could start moving their bot lane around the map first. Zyricon, very, very strong lane together. If Tristana and Taric can hold them down, I think it eventually tilts in their favor. But especially, at the power spike points like level 6 and such, I think Zyra and Khan have a decent edge.
Yeah, this is actually like the kind of lane match that I hate playing the Tristana side of, because you're going to be getting pushed in, and your support's not really going to have a chance to make too many plays without your jungler around. Like, their whole goal is going to be to survive. Like, you see they have the barrier heal bot lane, and their whole thing is going to be like, basically just try to survive the laning phase and not lose their tower. And that's just something I hate being on, because if the smallest thing goes wrong, like you said, their bot lane is going to be able to take that turret and then start opening up the map.
Yeah. The mid lane, we have 2 non-roamers too, so it's going to be pretty much on the junglers to interact with that bottom lane, see if Jarvan can make something happen to help them out, relieve some pressure, or if Gragas can be there in time. These mid lanes basically push into each other. Not a lot of kill pressure on each side unless somebody plays a bit too aggressively. Although at 6, a flash ult from Malzahar into a Gragas gank, very hard to do anything about. So gotta look to have some protection there from his jungler when the time comes.
Yeah, pretty balanced comps in terms of like engage versus disengage. I think they both have like the tools to do either one. I think that IRLS is going to have to rely a lot more on the disengaging. They're not going to have like a lot of team fight potential, I don't think, with the Urgot. So they're going to be relying more on like the split pushing, the 4-1s, and disengaging rather than kind of pushing in with the Jarvan.
Yeah, and pushing into the Xayah, it's always kind of nerve-wracking. And when that's paired with the Malzahar, who's going to blow up the first person that jumps in, it doesn't look like IRLS is going to want to engage at all this game. They're going to try and play around objectives. Both teams take Baron and Dragons very fast. Azir, one of the fastest at killing those, and Malzahar does a good bit of damage too.
Yeah, I don't see that there's any way for IRLS to even try to engage on their team. Like, the first person who goes in on an engage is just going to get destroyed by Xayah Feathers and Malzahar ultimate. There's like really no follow-up, so that's something that I'm concerned about actually for their comp, is like they have really no way to engage into them.
Right. The Taric ultimate helps a bit. If the Taric ultimate can counteract the damage the burst damage that comes down on the Jarvan when he goes in, they can possibly get in and get a fight started. They are immobile once you get there. The Jarvan can lock the people up in that Cataclysm if flashes are down. And if he does, Azir will be able to put out the damage to kill them.
Yeah, I think Azir is one of like the few mid laners who's gonna like out damage Azir in like or out damage Malzahar in like a long fight.
I agree. All right, the wolf on Malzahar. That's interesting. I'm excited about that for some side lane roaming. I think Yeet has kind of correctly found out or figured out that bottom lane is the way to win this game. Let's unlock that and to get Malzahar out of the mid lane and down there.
Yeah, and he also has the teleport too. So like the teleport plus of the wolf mastery, he's gonna be able to like get out, try and make a play, and then come back. Looks like my client is stuck at 0 seconds. I don't know.
I think that just takes a minute to activate. We got players spawning now. You expect anything at level 1?
I really don't know. I haven't watched enough of like either team. It's pretty early in the season to like know what their tendencies are. They're pinging out just like the 5-point on the blue side.
And it looks like a matching fan coming from each street.
So they have Gragas like staying in the mid lane, concealing where he's going to be starting at. Neither team giving away any information, but also not getting any information at the level 1.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. It looks like Starman's making his way down. I expect a red buff start.
So I don't know a ton about Ornn, but is he supposed to buy something to go with 3 health potions, or does he just get 3 health potions?
I think he can buy at any point in lane. Isn't that his gimmick? So maybe he's waiting for some reason.
Bronze 5 casting here. I don't know the Ornn mechanics. He can just buy stuff wherever he's at?
Yeah, he can just buy in lane.
So Jarvan's going to be starting with the red buff, getting a leash from his bot lane, and the same is true for Gragas on the blue buff. Just straight up so far. Jarvan's going to clear actually quite a bit faster.
Yeah, and we have the vertical split in the jungle, so both will be looking to affect top lane early, it looks like. Possibly mid, but Jarvan, like you said, is going to have a big lead there.
I'm actually a little surprised by that, because we talked about how like important it was on getting the focus around the bot lane. Looks like Jarvan's coming up towards this top lane. He's going to come around for a gank. Ornn doesn't see him. He should be able to just kind of go in here.
Jarvan is going to need to make something happen here. He's giving up a lot of time, running straight from his red buff all the way to the top lane. And
they
burn
with
a flash
out of Ornn. No action really in the bot lane, just kind of CSing back and forth.
Cut the music. Yeah, both teams picking up CS in the bot lane. No leads developing yet. Expect to see more action, if any, at level 3 out of the Xayah Rakan lane, but Trist Taric is just going to look to stay safe and possibly get pushed in and get their last hits under the turret.
A little bit of a CS lead going on in the middle lane. I'm not sure what the waves look like. It might equalize out, but Charlie's down 9 CS right now.
Yeah, those early CS are so hard with Malzahar, with your dot going, and sometimes with the Voidlings pushing in. You know, you want to get that push going, but sometimes you give up the CS just a little bit of random bad luck.
The binding comes down, but they're not going to be able to do anything with that. He's too close to the tower.
Bot lane seems to be freezing right in the right spot for them. They can keep that just outside the tower range, but back on their end, they're going to be happy with that.
So do you think that ended up being worth it for Jarvan? They did get the flash in the top lane, but You know, now he's all the way on the bottom side of the map, and I don't know that they're really going to be able to capitalize anything off of that.
Yeah, I think with Urgot continuing to push, not trying to set up a bounce and then freeze the lane to fuse that, I think
Edgy's
that's
jumping
a
in on
net
the bot
negative.
lane right now. Jarvan's coming around. I think they're going to get a flash here. T-Crank taking a lot of damage, and he's going to go down first blood to Edzy.
Well played by them. Just no wards on Yeet Street's side, and they pay the price.
And now some trading coming in on Joe's side. But big tank fight. Nothing's going to happen up there.
And that mid lane CS differential held steady, but hasn't widened at all. So as long as they keep getting their last hits, it should stay that way. And here we go in the top lane.
On Kiyoshi. I think he's going to have to, he flashes here. So they're both flashless. Josidon's is about halfway off cooldown. So I could see Gragas coming back up here, but I'm worried that he's going to have to go now to the bot lane to stabilize it. They're going in on the dragon. And I don't think they're in a position to contest it here. The bot lane is pushed all the way back to the tower. Malzahar is just CSing under turret, and Azir doesn't even need to be there to help him out.
Yeah, and that's a good opportunistic dragon. They saw Gragas up in the top lane, and they immediately went onto it. This is a good play by in real life Sluts.
What a ridiculous team name. Wow.
So a gank apiece up in this top lane, and Urgot will need to get it back and get some items. You'll start to see Orin building stuff in lane and kind of shifting this into his favor, already with a cloth armor and a sapphire crystal, and then upgrading it into the glacial shroud.
Yeah, he's just tanking up, and one thing I always see from Josidon is he plays like smart and safe. And Orin seems like the perfect champion to kind of get a lead off of that with the mechanic of buying stuff right from your lane. So there's not too many, I mean, really no objective now. Rift Herald's not up, Dragon went down, so I expect to see just wave clearing for a little bit, pushing Vision in. We see Malzahar throwing a ward down on that blue buff. They know that it's going to be on a little bit of a delayed timer because of Jarvan's pathing. And Jarvan's might get caught out here. And just flag and drags out to safety.
With this level 6 and boots purchase to activate the Wolf rune, I want to see Malzahar try and get a push going in this lane, or possibly even Gragas in for the gank straight up in the mid lane.
Putting a ton of damage onto Jarvan, stops the flag and drag, but nothing's going to come of that. And now Josidon engaging in a little bit onto Urgot, but neither person takes any damage at all.
That's going to be a fun lane for them to hit each other as much as they want.
Gragas coming around on the mid lane here. He got pinged out. More wave clearing here in the bot lane.
Up in the top lane, a CS differential is starting to... Despite Urgot constantly pushing the Ornn into tower, he's down about 10 CS, and that lead looks to be growing a little bit, while Malzahar is now all but caught up.
Malzahar is getting pinged out. They see the blue buff exchange, and now they have like a very small window to try and start this push, because once Azir gets the blue buff, they're really just going to be able to push, you know, right back into each other. I think Azir is one of the few champions that like matches Malzahar's pushing potential.
Yeah, and one thing I don't like, especially in organized play when you know you're going to be getting a blue buff, is this Lost Chapter start on Azir. The highest damage build on him is the Nashor's Tooth into the Mask and a Rylai's. So when you build a Morello's, you're kind of delaying your big damage spike of that 3-item build.
And it looks like Malzahar is actually leading now in CS, so he went from down 10 really early to catching back up and getting a push into the turret here.
Junglers both hovering towards this top side. both looking just to farm. Not a lot of action since those early few ganks by Jarvan. Um, Gragas really hasn't made too much of an impact besides the one top gank, but again, these laners are so tanky and don't do enough damage to each other. I really expected them to be more hovering towards the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything there. I think they're just going to kind of clear out their jungle, establish vision. You know, Gragas might look for a counter gank, but I don't think anything can come of that. Now, Zir and Jarvan are making their way into the topside jungle of Yeet Street. And they're getting pinged out all over the place there. Pretty good vision by both teams so far after the little lapse in the beginning that yielded the first blood.
And that first blood did tilt this matchup away from where we thought we'd go. We see the Cull versus the BF sword in the bot lane. Pretty big advantage for Sluts here. But it looks like nothing too much will come of it. They can't get into that tower. No shots down yet.
And the CS lead, just like you said, is continuing to grow up here. It seems like Urgot is focusing so much on kind of pushing waves in that he's not, doing the little things, just picking up those CS and last hits.
Yeah, and you can start to see that Malzahar is clearing these waves out very fast. Azir does pick up in clear speed, especially once he gets a little bit of attack speed. But if Malzahar can ever get unlocked from this lane, if he can make a play bottom, that Predator mastery is very good.
So now both junglers are standing right by the bottom lane. Gragas is going to be spotted out. They have really good vision in that bottom side jungle. Gragas is a little far away here. Taric flashes in, gets the stun down. Jarvan's coming in with the flag and drag, lands it on Xayah. She throws out the ultimate, but she's still inside of the Jarvan ult, has to flash out. Gragas comes in, ults Jarvan back into the turret, takes a tower shot, gets ignited. The Malzahar is coming in, gets his ultimate down, but it's canceled right away on Edzi. They're still moving forward. The Buster shot comes out and knocks them both back, and a lot of action, but no one's going to go down. And I think that's actually a small advantage for IRLS, because Azir is going to get the kind of initiative on this middle turret, and they're not down as many summoner spells.
Yeah, and great job for Taric. His ult completely canceled the damage of Xayah and the pullback on the feathers. If that ult was timed a little bit later, I think someone's going to go down as a result of that damage. And again, the Buster shot disengage hitting 2 was also a little bit lucky.
Yeah, lucky or planned. It's hard to say.
Calculated.
The Cloud Drake is coming up. I don't think either team is, overly enthusiastic about that one. They're kind of prioritizing tower pressure over establishing their position on that dragon. And I think that's a good choice at this point in the game.
Yeah, and with this push in the bot lane and Jarvan heading down here, we might see them transition up to that. The Yeet Street bot lane does desperately need a recall. They're down just multiple items. It's a pickaxe and a BF sword versus a Cull and a longsword. They're really going to get bullied. They're going to lose their tower unless they can even up those items.
Yeah, and I think IRLS is happy to just kind of leave them in lane. I'm almost surprised to see them back here, because if they can just leave... Yeah, he cancels the back. They're going to just continue to force down this turret. Jarvan's just clearing out his red buff on the opposite side of the map from the Gragas.
And Azir now with a clear, or Malzahar rather, with a clear pushing advantage in the mid lane. All those creeps are dead with still 4 alive on the side of each street.
They're just getting autos in on that bot side turret, and this bot lane with all the action that's happened down there is continuing to go in favor of IRLS. Jarvan snuck into that bush. Xayah's looking up, and the immediate ultimate comes down. She doesn't have ult or flash back up yet, and she's going to go down to Soto 1.
And that's just a good play by Soto. He got into that bush. He immediately locked them down. They had the timer on the ultimate and the flash. Very simple kill. T-Crank maybe walked up a little bit too far while his support was warding, but I don't know that Rakan would even been of help there.
Little trading going on in the top side. Poseidon rushing in onto the Urgot, but the Urgot's trading back now, has that machine gun just mowing into him, but he's taking no damage. Just straight up armor items. And now they're moving in on that Cloud Drake. So what do you think the result is after they take that bot side turret. What's going to happen now?
I think that Sluts should look to recall their bottom lane here, have them immediately run top, and try and reset the game just on the opposite side of the map. They'll eventually lose this bottom turret to the bot duo, but they should get the top turret faster than they lose it, and they could push that tempo into the mid lane. Possibly after taking the top turret, they'll be able to look to this Rift Scuttler.
As we see Gragas just taking down his red buff, clearing out the jungle, and he really has not had the same impact as Jarvan has this game.
Jarvan got multiple ganks off in the bot lane, and while Gragas was there for one counter gank, he wasn't there for two others, and that's where the advantage is built.
Yeah, and like you said, we see that Tristana has rotated towards the top side, and Taric is just kind of trying to establish vision around the mid lane now. Kiyoshi has position on this Xayah, and he's going to go for it. Rushing in, throwing her back, throws the little grenade out in the middle of nowhere, mowing her down with that machine gun. The root comes down.
And here's the ult.
Oh, the grinder just picks up T-Crank, who's really been getting brutalized this game.
0-3, 100% death participation, T-Crank. And you see at the same time as that, all of the tempo is in Slut's favor as they're already hitting the turret. There's no pressure on their bottom lane turret, and they won't be able to contest this Rift Herald either if the Sluts look to go for it.
Yeah, that's devastating. That's kind of that's a tough back to make as T-Crank. You know, I don't know if he should have kept pushing into the tower or run back farther into the lane, but that's such a huge tempo swing because instead of kind of trading pressure, they just gave up, you know, another objective, and the Rift Herald is going to be able to finally crack that mid turret, I think.
And at the same time, as they're taking this Rift Herald, it looks like Yeet is trying to do something. They send people bot to get spotted by a ward and back off.
So how does Yeet come back into this game now? You know, they're silencing the cracked. Oh, hold that thought. Tristana jumps in, flashes down to get the stun, and Charlie just gets blown up.
And it's a good flash by Edzy. It's a heads-up play to know, land that stun, get the kill. Don't give Charlie any time to flash out. And they immediately summon that Rift Herald to look to take that mid turret.
Yeah, the Rift Herald should be able to take this down. He's just kind of smacking into the turret. They're going to get this pretty easy. Do you think they're going to go for a second one here?
I think they should at least get this charge off, get any damage on this wave, but it's time to reset, spend the gold you got. You have 2 towers worth of gold. This dive is a little ambitious.
Yeah, it works out for him. I don't think Jarvan's going to be able to get out. The Taric ultimate comes down and stops a ton of the damage. The Xayah root comes down, and the Ornn ult, stunning everybody underneath that turret. Azir has to flash out. Edzy's taking a lot of damage from the Ornn. Goes down. Nahor has to flash out, and the Rakan engages back onto the Jarvan.
The
Urgot's
flank
coming in.
Urgot.
He just pulls in the Rakan and takes him down, and that Urgot is starting to get pretty scary.
It looks like another teleport from Charlie got behind Azir and picks up 2 more kills. And again, I think this was an overambitious dive. There's no reason to be playing that aggressively when you're in a position where you have a lot of extra gold unspent. You got the charge in on the turret, you whittled that down. You can reset, you can, get vision around the dragon that will spawn soon, and look to push the outer inners or the side lane inners with your huge advantage.
Yeah, they're going to lose a lot off of that. So the gold lead went from, I think it was almost 4,000, and now they're only up about 1.5 after they lose those couple kills and the mid lane turret.
And this was Yeet's way back into the game. They were hemorrhaging gold. They kept dying. Nobody was really getting in position and getting reset to a point where they can keep clearing the waves. But that dive will let them kind of get a grasp back on this game, catch all these waves, and it's hard to dive in onto Yeet. It's not an easy game to close here. Sluts have this early lead. They can still pressure these objectives. I think they'll be fine to do that still, but they will be able to scale on the side of Yeet, and we might see some late game team fights decide this.
Yeah, right as I asked you how they could get back into the game, they didn't even let you answer. They just did it. They did the thing to get back in the game. And I think it was actually mostly IRLS's fault for diving that turret. We kind of talked about how they really couldn't plan to engage on the other team. And especially like underneath the turret after they had already like committed a lot of resources towards taking that first kill.
And that fight also left them at a teleport disadvantage, as the Ornn was so pushed into his inner, the distance between those two turrets is very short, and he was able to walk there, whereas the Urgot had to teleport in, and I would like to see them use this teleport advantage to either pressure that top lane turret or get a 4v5 fight at this dragon that's about to spawn.
It's going to be another Infernal Drake coming up, and if IRLS is able to get that, it's going to be really hard for Yeet to outscale them.
And this is Zero turret in the mid lane. It does a lot of work in keeping them off the Infernal. Walking past that is a little bit rough. Your mid's permanently pushed in, and there's no good way to retreat if they do try and pick a fight here.
Sitting on a vision, trying to engage in. Unfortunately, he's not able to get this Shurima shuffle off, but he backs him up a little bit. Yeet's trying to get in position, but they're kind of zoned out by the Azir here. They're split. The TP is coming down. Jarvan's fighting. Gragas is just going to go down. No, he's able to get out, get stunned. Ornn right in the middle. The Jarvan is going to split them out.
Oh, and Charlie
on the back line.
Oh, and this fight looks wiped for the Sluts. Charlie found a great ult onto Azir over that wall. I think they lost track of him, and once Azir goes down, the damage just wasn't there. They couldn't burn through Gragas, and when Gragas lived, you can't go into Yeet. They're disengaged and they're kiting backwards. The fights where they're moving backwards are so good for them.
Yeah, once Azir goes down, there's really not enough damage on the side of IRLS. And it's going to turn into a Baron. They melt this thing so fast. And the game has just completely flipped sides.
Yeah. We'll look for Yeet to secure this Baron and then reset and take out these last two outers. Expect Ornn to go back top, the bot lane to go bottom. Basically a full reset on the standard lanes. And, use all three waves of Baroned up minions to get these standing outers, and then look to converge on one of the side lane inner turrets. And it looks like they're sending Malzahar bottom. Let him push this wave and pressure this turret. I think that is a point for Sluts to look at. This is a player or a champion that doesn't have a lot of mobility. They may be able to collapse on him. If he does see them coming, he'll be able to use the Predator to get out. But for right now, that's the point where you could break this 1-3-1.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard with the Baroned up waves, because if they send too many resources to go anywhere, they're going to be able to push in so fast on one of the other lanes. And you see Charlie just backing out here as they send two members down. Kiyoshi fighting a little bit with Joseiden in the top lane. Yeet is also closing in on him. The CC doesn't land there from Joseiden, but he has the ult coming down now, and he stuns, and he's going down. They should be easily clean up this top lane turret now.
Sluts appropriately responding, getting pressure on that mid lane. May look to trade turrets here despite the kill. They're going to try and collapse and get a fight here, I think. But let's see if Sluts can kill this turret and get out in time.
Yeah, in the meantime, they're able to just take down that mid turret, which is kind of an oversight by Yeet. You really don't want to be, losing turrets or trading turrets when you're the one with the Baron buff, and they give up a inner for an outer.
And Yeet is just, they're looking to collapse in those side lanes. Instead of having Malzahar in the mid lane, kind of using that heavy wave clear to keep that safe and using the bot lane to pressure these outers, they sent Malzahar bottom, and while the collapse worked, not having him mid, left them wide open to that return turret.
Jarvan gets spotted out, but is able to just flag and drag away. They put a ward down, it gets instantly cleared, and IRLS is just, keeping vision in their bot side. They're going to lose this bottom turret, but we kind of already knew that one was going down. There's no use sending people to defend that one at this point.
And with this Azir turret up, with this Azir turret passive cooldown, I would like to see Sluts use that to stop the push mid for a little while, buy them time, so they can collapse spot, but
Or
Charlie
looking for
looks
another
so
engage. The Ram is coming down. Tarek flashing in. Jarvan over the wall ultimate. Shurima shuffled the Ornn back into the team, but he's so tanky. The Tarek ultimate stops Jarvan from dying. Azir doing a ton of damage. And still nobody going down. Another big team fight.
and all of the engage tools from Yeet missing, and still a fine fight. The Malzahar is just putting out so much damage. T-Crank is starting to get some items despite those early deaths.
Another stun comes in on T-Crank, but the Malzahar ultimate lands on Azir, and he just goes down. I think that's a big misposition as Azir.
Yeah.
This inner turret is just a matter of time until it goes down at this point. Huge damage coming in from the Xayah.
And the Baron has timed out, but they should be able to pick this up with the low health bars of Sluts on this wave, and then look to reset.
So we don't want to see them dive the turret and do a counter throw.
No. It was very close with diving that Azir turret. It was pretty possible. Once they missed all those engage tools, that Sluts turned that around, but they just don't quite have the damage. And I think that has a lot to do with the build coming out of Azir. Not having the mask that will look to shred a lot of the damage, a lot of the HP on Ornn, is really going to hurt until he gets that build. It's not gonna. They're not gonna have enough damage to kill him ever, and you know, without those penetration items.
Yeah, he's just so tanky. He's able to just like stand in the middle of their team and soak up a ton of damage while Malzahar and Xayah start melting everybody down. There's no Last Whisper on Tristana, no penetration item for Azir. The really only penetration they have is the Black Cleaver on the Urgot.
And I don't like the Quicksilver coming out this early from Tristana. The way these teams, unless she gets hit with a barrel or a cast from Gragas, there's no reason for her to ever be that close to Malzahar. Once they took those early first turrets, they should have known they're going to be able to rotate around the map, push down turrets, kind of say disengage from them, you know, not have situations where they're going to be getting flanked by Malzahar. And she hasn't really gotten much use out of it, QSS, but they are lacking damage.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen in fight after fight is Charlie finding ultimates onto the Azir, and that's really like turned every single fight around. So this is another Infernal Dragon. They're tied at one apiece, and Yeet has the position on this one. They're melting it down, and it's going to just die before they can even get in. Looking for the engage. Poseidon has the Ram coming down, gets the stun onto Urgot. The Rakan knockup's coming in. Azir wall, but Gragas flashes over, whiffs his ultimate. Another ultimate going down onto Azir, who's just going to go down, and that is a 2-for-0 in the favor of Yeet.
And I believe that's going to be an inhibitor down. Not enough wave clear on the side of Sluts to stop this. If they try and defend, I think they're going to get dove with full health on everybody on Yeet.
I see Yeet is pinging that topside inner turret. Looks like they're rotating towards that way. There's a huge wave crashing in. They still have 10 seconds on Azir and Urgot. Urgot doesn't have TP to try to, you know, get in quick. Jarvan's backing out, and they should be able to just take this down. Tarek and Tristana have no way of defending this.
Yeah. After this, I think there'll be a look to reset, have everybody on the team buy a pink ward, get 5 pink wards set up around this Baron, and there won't be any way for Sluts to contest this without a big misposition from a member of Yeet. Walking in, like we've said, is not a recipe for success. So once we get the vision control around here...
Ooh, the ward spots them out right there. That could have been really bad for IRLS. Ornn is back in the base. I think he's looking for a TP for when they come in. They're setting up the Fnatic Death Brush here. The Rakan engage goes down. Tarek ultimate's coming out. Jarvan's in the back line. Just gets the ult down onto Charlie. Tristana blows up Trier. Charlie is going to go down now to the Urgot. The wall comes down. Zaya gets a huge root and another great engage by Joseiden. Jarvan goes back in, and this is going to be, I think, a quadra kill by Tristana here. Urgot takes the last one, and now they're going to get the Baron. What happened there?
A great fight by the Sluts. Charlie does not get a good ult off. He has Jarvan sit on top of him the entire time. Gragas goes down before Ornn gets into the fight, and they didn't have the tankiness protecting their backline. Once Charlie died, the damage, again, is greatly diminished, and they can stand toe-to-toe, and Azir put out a ton of damage in that fight.
Yeah, that's a big throw there. I think another problem is that they couldn't find time to back. You know, maybe it was a mistake for them to go to that topside inner because they didn't feel like they could back and spend all that gold and kind of reset and then establish control around the Baron. They got caught in between fights, and then IRLS was able to, you know, figure that out and engage right on them.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think that's a good synopsis of what happened. Not getting that back timer, not spending all of that gold, and then not having vision control.
Zir picking up the blue buff. Zaya killing some wolves.
So now what can we do with this Baron? It's again, we've talked about this a number of times. It's hard to push into this Yeet team. We just saw that happen to some success with a good Taric ultimate, you know, kind of shutting down that early burst damage. If they can do that again, they can possibly get, you know, another good fight. But for right now, they're in rough shape. There's not a lot of easy objectives on the map.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for them, especially that, you know, they have no outer turrets left. They only have the inner on the bot side. So the map is super wide open, and Ornn really thrives in that situation where he can just kind of set up a big ram and like run your team down.
And they look to be grouping as 5 in this mid lane. They're going to be pushing against supers, and they're not going to have the benefit of a split push to diversify this Baron buff in the lanes.
Yeah, they also have, it looks like the top and bot lanes are pushing against them as they set up this mid lane push. So Tristana's going to have to back, and they're really kind of just stalling out here. They might be hoping to kind of scale up and get their inhibitor back up with this Baron buff.
And a bit of an early Azir turret there. Gets that down before they're in place to really fight with it. As Tristana's backing to clean up these side waves, and they waste that long passive.
Uh-oh.
We have a DC from Discord. This should hopefully be cleared up in just a minute. Doesn't seem like too big of a problem.
So we're at about 32 minutes. Yeet Street is up 3.6k. They're also up an additional Infernal Drake, while IRLS has a Cloud Drake and just one Infernal Drake. Which side do you think scales better? Well, you know, once everybody's 6 items.
So the side of Yeet Street actually gets to go to 6.5 items each with this Ornn on their team. And I think that may even give them an edge in the scaling. The double Infernal plus that extra 1,000 gold they get to spend on the Ornn upgrades. I think they're going to have a scaling advantage. I don't know that Jarvan or Urgot are really going to be able to get anything done in the late game once the damage really starts ticking up from Zaya. She's been pretty weak due to her few early game deaths. You know, she got a CS disadvantage, but she's picked that almost all back up. She's now on 3.5 items. You know, once she finishes that last whisper item, I think she's going to be doing big damage to them, and it's going to get even harder for the side of Sluts. I think Yeet has a big scaling advantage here.
So they do still have a little bit of this Baron buff left. Looks like they're still kind of just pushing down mid lane, establishing vision in the bot side jungle, hitting the blast cone for fun.
And again, I'm really not liking the no Liandry's Torment and no Rylai's on the side of on Azir. The Rylai's is especially good against these kind of immobile tanks.
Gragas is getting very close to the Jarvan here. He's able to kind of run away, but they're coming back in now, clearing the vision, setting up for this Mountain Drake. And this could be the next fight that we see here. Yeet is just starting it right up. Zaya's putting down a lot of good damage on it. IRLS is in position to fight this if they want, but they kind of run around and don't. Now Urgot is running in and running out. So they're able to just kind of scoop that up right in front of them. And I think IRLS had position on that. They didn't feel like they could fight them. So they backed up and gave it right away.
And with the damage these teams are already doing to objectives, it's a very low priority dragon. There's not a huge impact coming from the mountain dragon this late in the game. They're going to kill Baron in 1.5 seconds instead of 2 seconds. So it's not a huge deal for them to give that up. Maybe they could have chose a better fight, but one thing I don't like is standing around watching if you're not going to choose to fight over it.
Yeah, you really want to see them, push a side lane or, reset, establish vision somewhere else. But they kind of just tiptoed around the buff, ran in, ran out, and didn't do anything meaningful with the time.
And we see the QSS pickup on Malzahar. So QSS on both of the carries of Yeet will diminish some of Malzahar's effectiveness. We're probably going to look to see that Malzahar ultimate start going down on Jarvan. As finding these over the wall and flanking the Malzahar else gets harder when both carries have QSSs.
Yeah, there's actually a good amount of penetration now, finally, out of IRLS at least. I don't think Ornn is going to be able to kind of stand in the middle of all of them. Tristana has the Lord Dominic's, and Azir completed the Void Staff a while ago.
And how do you feel about, as a support player, no Ardent Sensor coming out of Taric?
I think it's okay. I mean, I think Ardent Sensor is still good, but only on the champions with, a lot of shields or, constant shielding. So, your Lulu and Sona's, Karma's, I think it's good on, but I don't think you're going to see it on, the Taric-type champions anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I think the attack speed scaling with Azir and Tristana is something to look at, but you're probably right. The deficit in tankiness it gives by building that is probably the deciding factor there for Tarix.
Yeah, I think they are looking at having these more sustained fights, and he might feel that rather than the attack speed, the survivability that you get from Redemption and Aegis is better.
And this Baron buff that Sluts picked up has done almost nothing. It's worn off now. It's about to respawn. They got nothing done with it, and we have vision control on the side of Yeet. Although Sluts do still
they're running down the mid lane now. The engage is coming in off of Ornn. Rakan flashes in, gets the knock up. Knocked away from the Azir War, who's setting up in the back and just throwing tons of damage down. The Taric canceling a ton of damage. And they're able to just disengage there. I think, that works slightly in the favor of IRLS as long as they don't take a bunch of damage on their re-engage here. They should have the inner line on Baron now. As Yeet's backing up a little bit far here, they might be able to just melt this down. And that looks like what the call is. Jarvan's putting a damage down on it. Tristana's going in. Ornn throws a ward over the wall, but they have no vision. Still pretty low. A lot of their engaged tools are out. Jarvan goes in. Urgot throwing Gragas back. Charlie has to flash out of the Jarvan ultimate. Urgot 4v1ing in the back. Azir putting damage down. T-Crank flashes in. Tristana's trying to kite them out, but he's just going to get run down. Taric's trying to sneak back, and they're going to take the Baron here.
And just a little bit over-aggressive from Sluts going in like that. The Malzahar walked off very far forward into the side while Urgot did something similar. Malzahar was able to flash away, and Urgot went down. The fight re-engaged as a 4v5, and they got cleaned up.
Yeah, and it's going to be so hard for them to, not lose the game off of this Baron. The mid lane is open, so that inhibitor, I think, is really very likely to go down. All the engage tools are going to be back up for Yeet.
And we're flashless. 5 flashes down on the side of the Sluts. 10 flashes down in the game, but I think that's going to favor the Yeet pushing with this Baron a good bit. If even the slightest misstep in positioning while defending these turrets from the Baron buff minions is going to lead to an engage and probably a death with no flash.
Looks like they're trying to just use this huge wave. Triple cannon minions in the top lane.
And this is going to be hard to clear. This might be double inhib just based on the size of this wave.
Rakan is a little far back right now, so that's the only thing they have. Azir actually gets a lot of damage down onto Trier and T-Crank, and even more now onto T-Crank.
And Azir is clearing these waves very fast. A surprising amount of wave clear coming out of him with that giant Baroned up wave.
Looks like they're going to try to maybe push down this mid lane and rotate into the Elder Dragon, which is coming up in 25 seconds. And IRLS is picking that out. They hit the vision cone, so they see them coming down. Yeet gets the Scuttle Crab, throws a ward down on the flank, and now Trier is clearing out the ward.
And this seems like a good time for Sluts to be pushing in this mid lane, and you see Soto now going towards that, but he has to come back towards this dragon, and without getting that push in the mid lane, you give up a little bit of map pressure.
And they just start right on this Elder Dragon. The Horus zoning the whole team right now. The Ornn engage is coming down with the Ram, gets a stun onto the Jarvan. The Taric ult comes down, Azir wall just to keep himself safe. Jarvan melts. And that's going to be a cleaned up fight in the game for Yeet Street.
And the tanks didn't lose any life on the side of Yeet Street during that fight. Just we're not able to get the auto attacks in onto these big tanky members while their front line went down.
No, and I think the biggest difference that we see in this game is actually those team fights. Yeet's team fighting has been like really, really crisp.
And this is at least 2 inhibitors, if not more. We have 20 seconds on Soda. We have 30 seconds on Yoshi. They're not going to be able to defend these 2 inhibitors. They may look to defend the double Nexus turret, though.
Ornn TP coming down. Charlie zooming towards that Tristana, gets the ultimate down, but takes a ton of damage and goes down. So they're able to trade a kill onto the Malzahar there, which might save them from losing the game here, but they're definitely going to lose inhib. Jarvan's coming around the backside. Here's the last stand against the Baron and Elder Dragon Yeet Street.
Yeah, and that was an aggressive trade that, you know, doesn't gain them anything, and puts them in a spot where if Sluts look to engage, I think they have an advantage in that fight. They couldn't find it, but, you know, aggressive play by Charlie against that QSS and Tristana.
So one thing Chad is pointing out is Zero Tenacity Urgot. Do you think that's a mistake?
Yeah, I think against Rakan, I think Merc Treads are kind of required, just in general against this high magic damage team with Gragas, Malzahar. You're going to want some Merc Treads at least.
Taric picks up the Aether Wisp, so I think he might be going towards that Ardent Sensor now, but I don't know if there's still going to be a game going on by the time he gets it.
And Urgot is just not having an effect in these fights. He's not doing damage. He's not surviving for a long time. Not providing a lot of CC. It's a huge problem for your team fight when you're effectively down a person. He can't get into a side lane because of the structure of this game and the pushing.
T-Crank gets a big shot in by Tristana there. Takes some damage, going to try to sustain back up. Now that top lane is really pushing in, and they're going to have to send somebody to deal with that, and Yeet's pinging it out now. So the Urgot's going up there, but you know he hasn't had a huge effect in these team fights anyway. And they do have a ton of wave clear, so they might be able to hold on to this, even with just the 4 members.
And I would like to see, if Sluts are going to defend this as their last point of defense, I want to see a teleport on one of these flank wards that they set up earlier, and get a fight going quickly before these minions take over and win the game on their own.
Yeah, especially now that you have Trier low from the the poke damage that's come down from the incidental Tristana auto shots and the Azir poke. If they're going to make a stand, this is kind of the time. ton of damage going down onto Charlie there. He's chunked out to about half health.
And here we go in the teleport flank. I don't believe they see it coming in. And
No, they don't see it. He's going to have direct access to the backline. Or T-Crank throws down some feathers in that direction. Urgot just kind of runs out, but now the engage from Joseiden. Charlie gets the ultimate down, but takes a ton of damage. Trie tries to knock everyone back, but the Azir wall stops it. Big root coming down from T-Crank. Jarvan gets everyone into that ultimate, and Azir is just shredding them apart. Urgot pulls in the Joseiden, takes him down. Tristana wild turtles his way back in, gets blown up. So it's going to be a 2-for-1 in the favor of IRLS.
And really good fight, really well engaged. They all got locked up in that Jarvan ultimate and shredded by Azir. They could have looked to, potentially transition this into possibly an inhibitor if Triss would have lived.
Yeah, I see what Edzy was trying to do. If you get 2 auto shots off on that Xayah, you're going to be able to take her down, and then they're going to have, a huge pushing advantage, but just kind of unfortunate that the play doesn't work out.
And pings down towards this Baron that has respawned. I don't think Sluts are in a position to take it with these pushing waves, although they're heading there. And everybody on Yeet now respawns. No teleport from Orin, so he'll have to walk there, but it looks like there's no contest on this Baron.
Yeah, they're pinging it, but they're backing kind of right next to it, and they're going to be able to just melt this down.
And our third Baron of the game goes in favor of Yeet.
So they almost, even though the other team has Baron, they almost have to engage, right? They can't just let, 2 waves of super Baron minions kind of force in on them. Joseiden going for the engage. Jarvan ults on the backline, gets everybody inside that ultimate again, and Azir is going off with those soldiers. But Jarvan is melted, and they're disengaged and sustained back up. And now it's 55 seconds on Jarvan.
Just not enough damage to burst through this front line. Azir could not get enough auto attacks in. Tristana spending a lot of time running from the Gragas engage, and their front line's going down first.
Yeah, so right as those 2 inhibitors come back up, they go right back down again.
And Yeet looking for the safest possible way to win, get the 3rd inhibitor, get these double supers, and push him with triple inhibitor down and Baron.
They don't even have to force too hard on that huge damage coming in onto Charlie. They don't even have to force this down too hard. They can wait for those 2 waves to push in. They don't need to be standing in range of all this Azir and Tristana poke.
And with the teleport up on Charlie, he recalls and comes straight back. That recall lets them clear 1 wave, but that's all the reprieve they'll get.
It is enough for Jarvan to get back alive, though. And the ultimate comes down onto Edzy, and he goes down. Jarvan going in. The Azir wall throwing them back away from the turret. But that's a double kill onto Xayah with Taric going down. And that's 2 for 0 so far. And they back right out, and they're going to sustain again, take down this turret, and take down the 3rd inhibitor.
And Yeet is looking to close out the game.
Taking around this last Nexus turret, and no contest on the Nexus. Just going to go right down.
So who's your MVP of that game?
Oh, it's got to be Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie turned a lot of those early fights. The first big fight loss for in real life Sluts was that tower dive, but the immediate following fight was at a dragon, and Charlie just snuck his way. He found an ult onto Azir over the wall, was able to kill him in the back line,